Hi all, welcome to Boomi Master Data Hub demo session. In our today's session, we'll see what is master data management, what is master data hub, and how are they different. Master data hub structure, life cycle, master data hub platform walkthrough, and we'll see employee onboard live demo. Right. So let's start with master data management. What is master data? Well, any organization has mission critical data, which are basically the nouns of that business. Say the data could be related to customers, employees, products, vendors, and so on. And this data needs to be broadly shared across multiple applications and also needs to be consistent across all the systems, groups, departments, and reports. So, how is this data shared across applications? So integration being the core that Boomi platform offers, consider we have these two systems. So we build integration process to move data from one source to the other, and we sync back with the integration process again. Say now when one more system got added to the system, you build integration process to move data to and forth of that application and to sync with other applications. So when there's a need to add one more source, you again go and build your integration processes. So if you see here, to integrate four applications, you need to have six processes. So in real time, there might be a requirement of adding more sources. So when four more sources are added, it looks like this. So it's not only complex but also slow, inefficient, and difficult to manage for adding and removing of your sources. So when this integration complexity increases, there comes a need to centralize the data, simplify the integrations, and also to ensure that all the records are unique. So there comes the master data management. So what is master data management? An MDM system helps you to define, match, and merge records from multiple sources, detect and prevent duplicates, and ensure all of your domain data is accurate and up to date. So this is the system that manages the critical data of an organization. So coming to Master Data Hub. So what is Master Data Hub? So Master Data Management in Boomi is called Master Data Hub. The reason they have renamed Master Data Management to Master Data Hub is that because Hub lacks few of the functionalities of Master Data Management. Say like there is no on-premise deployment here. Data enriched rules are very less in Hub. Bulk data load capacity is very less, and there are more, right? Then, so this being the traditional integration process, MD head sits in the middle of the applications. So any changes in the applications are detected by this MDH system. It validates, cleanses, enriches, and matches the data, and also synchronizes it back to the related systems. So the hub takes all your disparate systems like this and connect them directly to the hub solution, and also handles the communication between all other systems in your organization. So that way, if you have new applications that is coming into your organization, it makes it very easy to plug that data into your hub solution without having to go back and revisit your existing system, right? So coming to the master data hub structure, at the top we have the Boomi account. So Boomi account contain one or more repositories. So what is a repository? A repository is a virtual container for the data that keeps the data completely separate for each account. Each repository is associated with an atom in the cloud. So we require a repository because there is where the model is being hosted. An account can have many repositories, and a repository can have many models. So what is this model all about? A model is an object with which you are synchronizing in Hub. So this is the main core functionality that you're working with. So this can be considered like a table in database. So here is where you define the fields that should contain in your golden record, data quality steps, match rules, and tags, etc. will be defined here. So coming to the source. Sources are the applications or databases that interact with master data hub through integrations. So they are of different types: contribute, accept, and both. So one which contributes the data, one which accepts, and one is both, which either send or receive the data through master data hub. So when a model is created, a corresponding domain also will be created. That together makes up the universe. Right? So a domain is used to describe a data tracking of a particular noun of a company's business, like say your customers, vendors, products, or employees. So here you can see a few examples, a few domains here, and also the related models. Say for example, for customer, you have contact model, accounts model, and for vendor, you can have address model. So this way you can differentiate different models with the domain, right? So when you're creating a model, the very important thing is to identify what data you have to master. Also, the data quality dimensions are very important. So when you're standardizing a model, you first need to consider different systems that send the data to and from the data hub. So when I say standardizing a model, it is all about setting your fields. So these are the fields that make up your golden records. And you can set up the validation rules, and you can perform enrichment, you can perform matching, and also you can perform the classifications, data classifications. So when setting up this model, it is important that you consider the data quality dimensions. Say for example, completeness. So when you're sharing these fields, the data across multiple applications, it is very important that you make sure all the fields are complete. It is important to make sure all the fields are complete. And conformity. So make sure that the validation rules that you're applying are aligned to the standards of the business, say like the syntax, the mandatory checks, etc. And accuracy. This is a key data quality dimension. So here you can call the third party vendor that have the trusted domain data or safer location, identity resolutions that you want to call to your services that can boost the data accuracy. Uniqueness. So since we are integrating different applications, you have to make sure that there are no duplicates of data. Governance. So this helps you to share the right data to the right person by classifying the data. So to have all these dimensions appropriate, it is important to work on the entity relationship diagram. So first, let's see a use case, employee onboard use case. So say you are getting the employee details from Postman, right? So what you do here is we build an integration process to move the data by exposing the integration process as an API. It receives the employee details and pushes that data into the master data hub. And we create other processes where you move the data from master data hub to end applications. Right? So when there is scenario like this, so your organization gets employee data and it stores in different end applications. So you need to have synchronization between all these end applications. Right? So first you go with creating an entity relationship diagram. You first have to identify. So now we are going and creating employee domain with contact model. So you have to define all those fields that can come under each application. So under Salesforce, these are the fields that you get. Zoho, these. So you just define all of them. And domain data model is one which contains the list of all the fields. So here you try to define all the data types, the minimum max lengths that are available. So everything you define, all the restrictions that are there for your fields, you define them here. So out of which you create your model that contains the final list of the fields with all the validations. So this way you define the model. Right? Then, so the concept here is of creating a golden record. So golden record is the single source of truth. So the concept of creating this golden record actually goes through the life cycle of master data hub. So in the life cycle, we have 4 steps: define, deploy, synchronize, and steward. So in the define step, you define the model by determining the fields and sources that make up the records. And in deploy, you deploy the models to the repository. And in synchronize, you synchronize the data across all systems using integration process that connect to the hub. And in the steward, you implement stewardship rules to make sure that the data incoming and outgoing maintains the highest level of security. Right? So let's now see the working session. Let's now go to the Boomi platform. Let me open MasterDataHub. So this is the repository. So the first thing in the define step, what we do is we create a repository. Okay? So the repository is created, and then you identify the source system. So I already have created this for you, a model. I'll give you another session or a video which consists of the complete use case demo. So this is a source. Here you create your sources. So I have created the sources for Salesforce, Zoho, database, and this is the application that sends the data to MasterDataHub. So you define your, you create a repository, define the source systems, and then you build your model. So you go to models here. So you create a model here. There is fields. So as we said, the first field, you have to identify all the fields that will be shared across the applications and also that make up your golden record. So these are the fields that are identified. Then here you define the data quality steps. So if you see here, these are the different data quality steps. So you can create a process call from here. So you can make use of the integration process to enrich the data, or you can create a business rule. So here is the where we created all these checks. And also you can add services for different external applications. So here we have the created mandatory field check, contact email verification. For example, if I open this, you can see. So the contact email should contain easystepin.com. So if the data doesn't come this way, it goes to the quarantine area. So if the data is correct, if it matches all these rules, it goes and creates a golden record. And if there is any issue in validating, it will go to the quarantine area. So we'll see that later. Employee ID check. So in the employee ID, we have said that employee ID should start with 12 or 57. So 57 for say contract type who is employee, and employee ID with 12 for a contractor maybe. So that way you have to define all the rules here. And match rules. So based on this rules that you provide here, the data either goes and updates or gets created for the golden record. So based on this employee ID, if the data already exists, if a golden record already exists with this employee ID, it goes and updates it. If there is no employee ID with this golden record with this employee ID, it creates. And record title format. So it just create a record title, and you can classify your data with this tags for categorizing your golden records. Right. So once you create this model, you then publish it. So I've already published and deployed it to the repository. So if you see here, if I open the repository now, so the second step is the deploy step. So there is where we publish the model to the repository and we attach the sources. So this is the model that was deployed, right? So now we have to attach the sources here. So attach the sources, as we said, we have different types. So contribute, say if I open this, configure this, you'll see the type of it. So whether it have to contribute the data or accept the data or both. And here you can have other record level options like require approval for new records, require approval for updates to any field. So all these record level options you can provide. So at start, when you attach a source, the first thing you'll have to do is to enable the initial load. So here you will have an option to enable initial load. So when you say enable initial load, there is where you are opening a way for the communication. You are opening a communication between the source and the master data hub. So that way initial load gets created. And during this time, what happens is it blocks all the channels, other channels from receiving those updates, and also it enables bulk load. So you can do the bulk load. Right. So once the initial load is done, you need to then close stop the initial load. So this is all done. You also rank your sources. So rank in the sense you need to prioritize your sources. So if a higher priority source has the most trusted data, that can override the lower priority sources. Right. So this way we've created the you have created the you have configured the deploy step. So this is now done. So now what we have to do is to go to synchronize step. So the synchronize step is where we create our integrations to move data to MasterDataHub. So let's go and see that. So for the initial load, first initial load, what we do is we first have to add data to MDM. So database needs to send data to, so you have to enable initial load here. First, I need to enable initial load here, then execute this process. So a record will be sent, and then Salesforce to MasterDataHub. So this again you'll have to do the same way. Then Zoho, and also for add employee to MDH. So this is from the external application. Sorry. Right. So once the initial load is done, so once sorry. Sorry. So once the initial load is done, you'll close that. Then, so this is the process which listens, which is exposed as an API, and that listens to the request and loads the data into MDM. So once the data is loaded into MDM, the second step is to send data from MDM to other applications. Just give me a minute, please. I'm so sorry. Okay, so the first step, you need to add the employee data to MasterDataHub. So once a golden record gets created, those golden records have to be sent to other end applications. Right? So these end applications, if you see here, MDM to Salesforce. So this way you build your integrations. So let's now see a working demo. Let's this. Say now this is the data I need to send it from Postman. So I'm trying to send the employee data via Postman. So usually there will be an end application using some external application that sends this data. So now when I execute this, so this is done. Let me open the process reporting page. So here you'll be able to see that this got executed. Now we should be able to see that data in the golden record area. So if it is done, so see here, this is what I have sent, contact name Naresh. So you will be able to see that here, contact name Naresh. So which means this has gone through all the steps, the validations. It has gone through all the validations, and then a golden record got created. So this is the trusted data. So this trusted data can now be sent to other end applications. So now I'll execute this in the test mode so that it will be clear to you on the execution path. So, so now if you see here under reporting, you'll be able to see in outbound activity, there should be records that are fetched here. So this way the data goes to the end applications. So from MDM to Salesforce. So each one has, for each source, we have MDM connector, MDM operation. So if you see here, the data that is coming here, if you can see, so here you'll, with the operation type, create, if it is a new record, the golden record will have the operation type as create. If it is an update, it will have an update here. So based on which we can build our integration process. So if you see here, we have created based on the operation type. We are routing it based on the operation type, if it is create or update. So this way it goes to all the end applications. Now if I go and see here, this is in Salesforce. So you can see here in Salesforce. This is in Zoho. Here, so it's got created. And also if you go to database, so the same will get in database as well. So now if I update something, if I update the email here, I'm just updating this data here and sending it back to MDM. So you'll be able to see the email got updated. And under outbound activity here, if you see, so let's create one more here. Yes. So a record has been created in the golden records. And if you go to the outbound activity here, see, you should be able to see this record title and the type as create record. So you should see this outbound activity. So these pending records will be picked up when you execute this process from MDM to the end applications. So these have to be picked up. All the pending records that are there here will be picked up. Okay. So now when I execute the MDM to end applications, this will be removed out from here. So that will go to delivered. So you have seen that these are the delivered records. So also for each source, you'll be having one. So see here for database, you have this. And for Salesforce, we have this. For Zoho, we have this. So you have to configure your operation. You have to configure your operation based on this source. For Salesforce, you need to have one. So that's the reason you get it from Salesforce and load it into Salesforce. Similarly, for database, you need to get from source database source and load them into database. Yeah. Now this is all good. Say now I've got a failed record. So the validation, as I've shown, it should have easystepin.com. Say I have given only easy. This is not matching. So it should basically fail. If I go here, under the golden record. So this is the update record, right? Uh, Let me give one more here. Okay, I'm sending this data. So now I golden record here. But you'll see that it is not there. So now if I go to the quarantine area, you'll be able to see this. And this is the one which I've sent earlier. So you'll see the data quality error here. See this? So it says data quality step contact email verification. Contact email is not correct. And similarly, the contact email is not correct. So this quarantine area, which says that manual intervention, or you can correct the data and again resubmit, or you can uh, you delete those records. So whatever, your human intervention will be required here, right? So now I'll correct those records, or if required, I'll correct them or I'll delete them. So that way, the quarantine area will be helping us. And staged entries. So staged entries is where you any onboarding of your new records, you can do it in a safe mode. So here you can do the impact analysis against the data. So when you are having a high load or huge load, you first do it with the stage entities and see nothing is being affected. Okay. So once these are done, it goes to resolve step. So basically, steward is the final step where we have three areas: golden records, quarantine area, and staged entries. So this is the complete life cycle of your master data hub, right? Okay. So now going back, let's see what all we have discussed so far. Define step. So in define step, you'll be defining the repository. You'll be first creating a repository, right? First, you'll create a repository. Um, and then, so this is all the repository. This is a repository and all the models that are there in this. You then configure your source or identify the sources. And you then define your model. So first you define the fields. These are all the fields. And this is the data quality step. So here is where you do all the validations, enrichments to your data. So then the match rules, whether you have to update or create a new record. And this is the record title format. And finally, the classifications of the data based on the tags. Then we go to the deploy step. So deploy step is where we publish the model to the repository. And then once you publish or deploy that, you'll then have to attach the sources. So while attaching the source, you'll be having this whether it is a contributing source or accepting source, or it is both. So you will define that. Then you go through the synchronize step. So here is where you build your integrations to move the data to MDM. So Salesforce to MDM and MDM to database. And once you get execute, you'll be able to see that in the inbound activity. So then this steward step. So here is where we can monitor the outgoing records. So the golden records, quarantine, and staged entities. So you can see here the application sends the record, validation. So any issues during the validation or data quality or match rules, that goes to the quarantine area. So once you resolve, it will go for approval, and then a golden record gets created. If you reject and correct, it goes back. So this is a use case which I want every one of you to do. So just exchange data between Salesforce and database. So that's it. Thank you.